Okay, so the last time we met, we had just heard about Joseph reuniting with his brothers for the first time, um, convincing them that he thought they were spies and that they needed to bring his youngest brother back to them in order to be able to purchase in the land. And they went back to their father, and he was very upset by this. So here we're going forward with the decision that they're going to again need to go back to Egypt to purchase food. So we're beginning with chapter 43. Now the famine was still severe in the land. So when they had eaten all the grain they had brought from Egypt, their father said to them, "Go back and buy us a little more food." But Judah said to him, "The man warned us solemnly, 'You will not see my face again unless your brother is with you.' If you will send our brother along with us, we will go down and buy food for you. But if you will not send him, we will not go, because the man said to us, 'You will not see my face again unless your brother is with you.'" Israel asked, "Why did you bring this trouble on me by telling the man you had another brother?" They replied, "The man questioned us closely about ourselves and our family. 'Is your father still living?' he asked us. 'Do you have another brother?' We simply answered his questions. How were we to know he would say, 'Bring your brother down here'?" Then Judah said to Israel his father, "Send the boy along with me, and we will go at once, so that you and our children may live and not die. I myself will guarantee his safety. You can hold me personally responsible for him. If I do not bring him back to you and set him here before you, I will bear the blame before you all my life. As it is, if we had not delayed, we could have gone and returned twice." Then their father Israel said to them, "If it must be, it must be. Then do this. Put some of the best products of the land in your bags. Take them down to the man as a gift, a little balm and a little honey, some spices and myrrh, some pistachio nuts and almonds. Take double the amount of silver with you, for you must return the silver that was put back into the mouths of your sacks. Perhaps it was a mistake. Take your brother also and go back to the man at once. And may God Almighty grant you mercy before the man, so that he will let your other brother, and Benjamin come back with you. As for me, if I am bereaved, I am bereaved." So the men took the gifts and doubled the amount of silver, and Benjamin also. They hurried down to Egypt and presented themselves to Joseph. When Joseph saw Benjamin with them, he said to the steward of the house, "Take these men to my house. Slaughter an animal and prepare dinner. They are to eat with me at noon." The man did as Joseph told him and took the men to Joseph's house. Now the men were frightened when they were taken to his house. They thought, "We were brought here because of the silver that was put back into our sacks the first time. He wants to attack us and overpower us and seize us as slaves and take our donkeys." So they went up to Joseph's steward and spoke to him at the entrance to the house. "Please, sir," they said, "we came down here the first time to buy food. But at the place where we stopped for the night, we opened our sacks and each of us found his silver, the exact weight, in the mouth of his sack. So we have brought it back with us. We have also brought additional silver with us to buy food. We don't know who put our silver in our sacks." "It's all right," he said. "Don't be afraid. Your God, the God of your father, has given you treasure in your sacks. I received your silver." Then he brought Simon out to them. The steward took the men into Joseph's house, gave them water to wash their feet, and provided fodder for their donkeys. They prepared their gifts for Joseph's arrival at noon, because they had heard that they were to eat there. Then Joseph came home. They presented to him the gifts they had brought into the house, and they bowed down before him to the ground. He asked him how they were, and then he said, "How is your aged father you told me about? Is he still living?" They replied, "Your servant our father is still alive and well," and they bowed low to pay him honor. As he looked about and saw his brother Benjamin, his own mother's son, he asked, "Is this your youngest brother, the one you told me about?" And he said, "God be gracious to you, my son." Deeply moved at the sight of his brother, Joseph hurried out and looked for a place to weep. He went into his private room and wept there. After he had washed his face, he came out, controlling himself, said, "Serve the food." They served him by himself, the brothers by themselves, and the Egyptians who ate with him by themselves, because Egyptians could not eat with Hebrews, for that is detestable to Egyptians. The men had been seated before him in order of their ages, from the firstborn to the youngest, and they looked at each other in astonishment. When portions were served to them from Joseph's table, Benjamin's portion was 5 times as much as anyone else's. So they feasted and drank freely with him. Now Joseph gave these instructions to the steward of the house: "Fill the men's sack with as much food as they can carry, and put each man's silver in the mouth of his sack. Then put my cup, the silver one, in the mouth of the youngest one's sack, along with the silver for his grain." And he did as Joseph said. As morning dawned, the men were sent on their way with their donkeys. They had not gone far from the city when Joseph said to his steward, "Go after those men at once, and when you catch up with them, say to them, 'Why have you repaid good with evil? Isn't this the cup my master drinks from and also uses for divination? This is a wicked thing you have done.'" When he caught up with them, he repeated these words to them. But they said to him, "Why does my lord say such things? Far be it from your servants to do anything like that. We even brought back to you from the land of Canaan the silver we found inside the mouths of our sacks. So why would we steal gold or silver from your master's house? If any of your servants is found to have it, he will die, and the rest of us will become my lord's slaves." "Very well then," he said, "let it be as you say. Whoever is found to have it will become my slave. The rest of you will be free from blame." Each of them quickly lowered his sack to the ground and opened it. Then the steward proceeded to search, beginning with the oldest and ending with the youngest. And the cup was found in Benjamin's sack. At this they tore their clothes. Then they all loaded their donkeys and returned to the city. Joseph was still in the house when Judah and his brothers came in, and they threw themselves to the ground before him. Joseph said to them, "What is this you have done? Don't you know that a man like me can find things out by divination?" "What can we say to my lord?" Judah replied. "What can we say? How can we prove our innocence? God has uncovered your servant's guilt. We are now my lord's slaves, we ourselves and the one who was found to have the cup." But Joseph said, "Far be it from me to do such a thing. Only the man who was found to have a cup will be my slave. The rest of you go back to your father in peace." Then Judah went up to him and said, "Please, my lord, let your servant speak a word to my lord. Do not be angry with your servant, though you are equal to Pharaoh himself." My lord asked his servants, "Do you have a father or a brother?" And we answer, "We have an aged father, and there is a young son born to him in his old age. His brother is dead, and he is the only one of his mother's sons left, and his father loves him." Then you said to your servants, "Bring him down to me so I can see him for myself." And we said to my lord, "The boy cannot leave his father. If he leaves him, the father will die." But you told your servants, "Unless the youngest brother comes down with you, you will not see my face again." When he went back to your servant, my father, we told him what my lord had said. Then our father said, "Go back and buy a little more food." But we said, "We cannot go down. Only if our youngest brother is with us will we go. We cannot see the man's face unless our youngest brother is with us." Your servant my father said to us, "You know that my wife bore me 2 sons. One of them went away from me, And I said, he has surely been torn to pieces, and I have not seen him since. If you take this one from me too, and harm comes to him, you will bring my gray head down to the grave in misery. So now if the boy is not with us when I go back to your servant my father, and if my father, whose life is closely bound up with the boy's life, sees that the boy isn't there, he will die. Your servants will bring the gray head of our father down to the grave in sorrow. Your servant guaranteed the boy's safety to my father. I said, if I do not bring him back to you, I will bear the blame before you, my father, all my life. Now then, please let your servant remain here as my lord's slave, in place of the boy, and let the boy return with his brothers. How can I go back to my father if the boy is not with me? No, do not let me see the misery that would come upon my father. Then Joseph could no longer control himself before all his attendants, and he cried out, have everyone leave my presence. So there was no one with Joseph when he made himself known to his brothers. And he wept so loudly that the Egyptians heard him, and Pharaoh's household heard about it. Joseph said to his brothers, I am Joseph. Is my father still living? But his brothers were not able to answer him because they were terrified at his presence. Then Joseph said to his brothers, come close to me. When they had done so, he said, I am your brother Joseph, the one you sold into Egypt. And now do not be distressed and do not be angry with yourselves for selling me here, because it was to save lives that God sent me ahead of you. For 2 years now there has been a famine in the land, and for the next 5 years there will not be plowing or reaping. But God sent me ahead of you to preserve you, for you a remnant on earth, and to save your lives by a great deliverance. So then it was not you who sent me here, but God. He made me father to Pharaoh, lord of his entire household, and ruler of all Egypt. Now hurry back to my father and say to him, this is what your son Joseph says. God has made me lord of all Egypt. Come down to me, don't delay. You shall live in the region of Goshen and be near me. You, your children and your grandchildren, your flocks and herds, and all you have. I will provide for you there, because 5 years of famine are still to come. Otherwise you and your household and all who belong to you will become destitute. You can see for yourselves, and so can my brother Benjamin, that it is really I who am speaking to you. Tell my father about all the honor accorded to me in Egypt, and about everything you have seen, and bring my father down here quickly. Then he threw his arms around his brother Benjamin and wept. And Benjamin embraced him, weeping. And he kissed all his brothers and wept over them. Afterward his brothers talked with him. When the news reached Pharaoh's palace that Joseph's brothers had come, Pharaoh and all his officials were pleased. Pharaoh said to Joseph, tell your brothers, do this, load your animals and return to the land of Canaan, and bring your father and your families back to me. I will give you the best of the land of Egypt, and you can enjoy the fat of the land. You are also directed to tell them, do this, take some carts from Egypt for your children and your wives, and get your father and come. Never mind about your belongings, because the best of all Egypt will be yours. So the sons of Israel did this. Joseph gave them carts, as Pharaoh had commanded, and he also gave them provisions for their journey. To each of them he gave new clothing, but to Benjamin he gave 300 shekels of silver and 5 sets of clothes. And this is what he sent to his father, 10 donkeys loaded with the best of things of Egypt, and 10 female donkeys loaded with grain and bread and other provisions for his journey. Then he sent his brothers away, and as they were leaving he said to them, don't quarrel on the way. So they went out of Egypt and came to their father Jacob in the land of Canaan. They told him, Joseph is still alive. In fact, he is ruler of all Egypt. Jacob was stunned. He did not believe them. But when they told him everything Joseph had said to them, and when he saw the carts Joseph had sent to carry him back, the spirit of their father Jacob revived, and Israel said, I am convinced my son Joseph is still alive. I will go and see him before I die. So Israel set out with all that was his, and when he reached Beersheba, he offered sacrifices to the God of his father Isaac. And God spoke to Israel in a vision at night and said, Jacob, Jacob. Here I am, he replied. I am God, the God of your father, he said. Do not be afraid to go down to Egypt, for I will make you into a great nation there. I will go down to Egypt with you, and I will surely bring you back again, and Joseph's own hand will close your eyes. Then Jacob left Beersheba, and Israel's sons took their father Jacob and their children and their wives in the cart that Pharaoh had sent to transport him. They also took with them their livestock and their possessions they had acquired in Canaan, and Jacob and all his offspring went to Egypt. He took with him to Egypt his sons and grandsons, and his daughters and granddaughters, all his offspring. These are the names of the sons of Israel, Jacob and his descendants, who went to Egypt. Reuben, the firstborn of Jacob. The sons of Reuben were Hanok, Palu, Hezron, Carmi. The sons of Simon were Jemuel, Jamin, Ohad, Jachin, Zohar, and Shaul, the son of a Canaanite woman. The sons of Levi were Gershon, Kehath, and Merari. The sons of Judah were Onan, Shelah, Perez, and Zerah, but and Onan had died in the land of Canaan. The sons of Perez, Hezron and Hamul. The sons of Issachar, Tola, Pua, Jashub, and Shimron. The sons of Zebulun, Zeret, Elon, and Jaleel. These were the sons Leah bore to Jacob in Paddan Aram, besides his daughter Dinah. These sons and daughters were 33 in all. The sons of Gad, Zephon, Hagi, Shuni, Esbon, Eri, Erodi, and Areli. The sons of Asher were Imnah, Ishva, Ishvi, and Beriah. Their sister was Sarah. The sons of Beriah, Heber, and Malkiel. These were the children born to Jacob by Zilpah, whom Laban had given to his daughter Leah, 16 in all. The sons of Jacob's wife Rachel, Joseph, and Benjamin. In Egypt, Manasseh and Ephraim were born to Joseph by Asnath, daughter of Potipherah, priest of On. The sons of Benjamin, Bela, Becher, Ashbel, Gera, Naaman, Ehi, Rosh, Muppim, Huppim, and Ard. These were the sons of Rachel who were born to Jacob, 14 in all. The sons of Dan were Hushim. The sons of Naphtali, Jaziel, Guni, Jezer, and Shillem. These were the sons born to Jacob by Bilhah, whom Laban had given to his daughter Rachel, 7 in all. All those who went to Egypt with Jacob, those were his direct descendants, not counting his sons' wives, numbered 66 persons. With the 2 sons who had been born to Joseph in Egypt, the members of Jacob's family which went to Egypt were 70 in all. Now Jacob sent Judah ahead of him to Joseph to get directions to Goshen. When they arrived in the region of Goshen, Joseph had his chariot made ready and went to Goshen to meet his father Israel. As soon as Joseph appeared before him, he threw his arms around his father and wept for a long time. Israel said to Joseph, Now I am ready to die, since I have seen for myself that you are still alive. Then Joseph said to his brothers and to his father's household, I will go up and speak to Pharaoh, and will say to him, My brothers and my father's household, who are living in the land of Canaan, have come to me. The men are shepherds, they tend livestock, and they have brought along their flocks and herds and everything they own. When Pharaoh calls you in and says, What is your occupation? You should answer, Your servants have tended livestock from our boyhood on, just as our fathers did. Then you will be allowed to settle in the region of Goshen, for all shepherds are detestable to the Egyptians. So wonderful. Such a wonderful story. I just softens my heart and just breaks it a little bit with joy. Um, amazing that um, I have understood just the tiniest little sliver of a fraction of Joseph's mentality after having gone through something that was life changing and devastating, to look back and so clearly be able to see the hand of God at work. All of this was meant to be, absolutely meant to be, because of long-standing promises that God had made, all the way back to Abraham, telling them that he was going to make a great nation of him, make his descendants as numerous as the sand on the seashores, more than the stars, as the stars could be counted. So he's making these promises to him, and now he is standing by them. But because we are so blessed to have the Bible and to be able to see these promises unfolding, certainly these people in the midst of the struggle probably didn't see God's hand unfolding. I'm sure that I can see that they were walking with him and growing with him. Joseph definitely went from being somebody who is very high on himself to somebody who is very high on God and putting himself second. And I love that he was so excited to see his family, and he got his family to come and got them settled in a really beautiful part of Egypt, that would take care of them, that they were honored, and that all of that strife was healed. All that pain was healed because his brothers were so distanced from him and so disgusted with his attitude and so disgusted with the whole situation that they were going to put him to death, that they ignored his cries of pain and please save me. They ignored all of that. And all of that was covered over. All of that pain was covered over and filled with love and filled with the rapture of forgiveness. And I say that completely because when you have been just mauled spiritually by something and God comes in and heals it, not just where it scabs over, and not that bandaging that we ourselves can do with something by shoving it down and shoving it away and ignoring it and letting it go. That never works. That always burbles to the surface as depression and anxiety and misplaced anger. All those wounds burble to the surface, and that's how they come out. They come out physically, they come out emotionally, they definitely come out spiritually. But God can go in. So many times people talk about, how can you believe in this? Why is this the best way? Why is this the path that's the correct one? And I have to say that I have tried so many other paths, and I was even in that same mindset. All paths lead up to the same point at the top of the mountain, and this is not the truth. This is not the truth, because my spirit had been mauled. It was full of holes and gaps and pain and slashes, and it was not healing. It was not healable. In fact, it was dying. I was spiritually dying. I was spiritually dead. I was in agony all the time inside, and I did whatever I could to soothe it, except for turning to God. And when I finally did lay myself down in front of him and say, I need you, please come into my life, things changed. And I will forever say that. Things changed dramatically. I was taken from where I was, and I was made to experience things that I did not want to experience. And it was a lot of fear and a lot of despair and a lot of depression. But at the same time, it was a lot of quiet place and a lot of talking to God and a lot of learning how to listen for his response and a lot of learning what that response was and a lot of being able to pray to him and a lot of learning how to pray to him, that it wasn't this rote response and call and response thing, and it isn't this stilted poem that you pray. He is mysterious and far away and everywhere, and he is all these things. God is a mystery, but at the same time, he is so intensely close. If you've ever had children, or even if you've had an animal, you can hear their distress. You can hear their cries. You can hear them calling you or doing things in your sleep, and you are attuned to it. You guys with cats will understand that one immediately. Dogs getting into the garbage, you can hear that stuff in a dead sleep. Somebody could break into your house and you'd be asleep through that, and you would hear that animal getting into the garbage. You would hear that kid wandering around in the hallway, playing around in the bathroom. Like, you hear those things because you are attuned to them, even in your sleep. And in the same way, God is attuned to you, except he never sleeps. So even more so, he is completely attuned to you. So when you say something, when you say something that you want to change, or when you hand your life over to him, when you are calling on him, even muttered prayers, even prayers in your heart, he hears all of these things. And because you are his beloved child, remember, he loved you enough to let his son die in your place so that he could graft you onto the tree. You were a wild olive tree, and he grafted you onto the whole and cultured tree that he had. He moved aside branches so that you would have a place. You have a place because he loved you that much. He wants that relationship with you. And he has a plan for you, a very clear plan. And a lot of the time it does not work out in such a way that you would think it would. But here you can very clearly see that his plan all along was to bring Israel to Egypt, Jacob to Egypt and his family, and to create the Israelite clan there. And that's where he wanted them. And his plan had to happen in such a way. So this gigantic plan, think about it, all the Israelites, the thousands upon thousands upon thousands of Israelites that are going to be living in Egypt in slavery, because of course this Pharaoh passes, new Pharaohs come, and they don't remember Joseph, they don't remember the good things that were done, and they are mistrustful of the Israelites, so of course they're going to make them slaves and try and overpower them. But this huge amount, the stories that you hear later on, of these Israelites and all these, the plagues that come and all of that was planned so that he could bring them out and give them the land of milk of honey. All of that started with one tiny decision for Jacob to fall in love with Rachel, one moment at a well. All of that, one moment at a well, when he looked up and saw the woman of his dreams, and it was love. Like, that's insane, right? That's amazing what God will take. And he took that, created a family out of it, changed Jacob's name to Israel. So here's, and he's doing all these things to get this prepared, get this ready. And he removes Joseph from his father's house, trains him up to be able to run Egypt so that he can bring his family all the way to Egypt and save thousands upon thousands of lives. But he's doing this to fulfill his promise, and he's going to hold them there in the cup of Egypt and let them simmer for a while until they grow into a nation. It's just, and then he's going to fulfill his other promises, but he's holding them there for 400 years. So the original people are not seeing these promises play out in an instant. So when we are given the promise that Jesus is going to come back, when we're given the promise that God will walk you through it, it may not be in an instant that we get it. It may not be in 5 minutes. We're so used to, in this culture, everything happening like that, or it doesn't matter, or it's not going to happen at all, right? If it doesn't happen in 30 minutes or less, it's not going to happen. Well, this is not how God works. God can work instantly. God does work instantly. But also he has long range plans, and his big plans take a while to unfold, and we have to lay into those plans like they are going to happen, because once God says they're going to happen, they're going to happen. And he is very firmly established that he is going to have his son come back. In the same way that he has left us, he will return. It's just amazing to me. It's amazing to me. I love to watch him work. I love to see these things unfold. God's promises, and Joseph. Joseph is amazing to me. He hung in there. He learned what he needed to learn, and he was so blessed. And he blessed his family, and he blessed Egypt. God blessed these people through him. I love it. I love it. And I want you to hear these stories so that you can see how God does keep his promises, that he will keep his promises to you. And just because they don't happen in a moment, that is God saying, please step out on faith with me. Walk with me, because I do have these plans. And if you hang in there with me, you will see them unfold as well. I encourage you. I encourage you to accept Jesus into your heart, because the only thing that we're not guaranteed is the next minute, the next 30 seconds, the next 5 seconds, the next 1 second. We are not guaranteed a single breath. Every single one is a gift, and you're not guaranteed that. And if you are hovering over a decision to accept Jesus into your heart, if you're sitting there thinking, I don't know, well, I'm supposed to believe in this, I don't know, it kind of makes sense, some of it doesn't make sense, yada yada, all of that, please set that aside. There is not enough time, because I wish I needed to go through the things I needed to go through in order to have this relationship that I have with him now, and I get that. But I am devastated that I did not love him all my life. Devastated. And once you begin to develop that relationship with him, the beauty and the healing, all the places in your soul that are maimed right now, all the places you secretly bleed, those will be healed. Those will be healed. That is his promise to you. He is the great physician. He will come in and mend those places. Let him. Let him. You have zero to lose here. You have absolutely zero to lose here. If God does not exist, you said something that sounds beautiful. that you need Jesus into your heart, that you need him to help you. If he does exist, you have started a relationship with the maker of the universe. You have zero to lose here. I can guarantee you the second one is the truth. God does absolutely exist. He absolutely exists, and he has a plan for you. Start that relationship. You have nothing to lose. Everything that you're trying to fill your soul up with, everything that you're trying to fill in your heart up with, is empty compared to what he can give. And all you have to do is just close your eyes and say with me, Jesus, I accept you into my heart. I need you in my life. Please forgive me for my sins. I need you, Lord. Come into my life. I ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. And if you've prayed that prayer, you are well on your way to a beautiful relationship. Grab yourself a Bible. If you don't have one, that's completely fine. If you can't afford one, that is also fine. There are thousands of Bible apps online. They are free. If you aren't able to go online on a more permanent basis than now, find yourself a local church. They are going to give you a Bible. I 100% guarantee it, that somebody there will give you a Bible so that you can read and get into Bible study, get into the Word, create that relationship. You want to know how to talk to God? Create that relationship. Start talking to him, and he will talk back to you. And you will learn to hear his voice. All right, I hope you have a beautiful day. You are very loved, and God bless you.